AI agents are everywhere, automating tasks and making decisions at machine speed. But agents make mistakes. Just one rogue agent can do big damage before you even notice. Rubrik Agent Cloud is the only platform that helps you monitor agents, set guardrails, and rewind mistakes, so you can unleash agents, not risk. Accelerate your AI transformation at Rubrik.com. That's RUBRIK.com.
The holidays are back at Starbucks, so share the season with a peppermint mocha. Starbucks Signature Espresso, Velvety Mocha, and cool peppermint notes, topped with whipped cream and dark chocolate curls. Together is the best place to be at Starbucks.
Wine and Crime contains graphic and explicit content which may not be suitable for some listeners. Listener discretion is advised.
Hello, and welcome to our fun little holiday spin-off convo. I'm Lucy from Wine and Crime, and joining me, I guess I'm joining them, we've got Kristen Seavey from Murder, She Told, and Aaron Habel from Generation Y.
Yep.
I didn't know if I was supposed to say hi, so I started to say it, and then I backed off because I was like, I don't want to interrupt her awesome intro.
That's
Just
okay.
jump in.
This is all about talking over each other. What is a podcast if not talking over others?
Fully scripted and edited.
Yes.
Get out of your comfort zone.
Yes.
Extremely professional. Okay, so we did something similar last year where we just got together with a couple other fellow true crime podcasters and just talked about what it's like to podcast in the true crime space, kind of some complications that come of that. I actually don't remember what the hell we talked about last year, but that's kind of what we're talking about this year.
Yeah, it kind of went everywhere last year.
Mm-hmm.
We talked about cases. We talked about highs, lows, travel. I feel like we should have put out like for listener questions. That might have been fun.
There's always 2026.
Yes.
Start planning now so you can forget.
Yes, exactly.
Let's start. Kristen, do you want to kind of give a little background of you and your show for those who might not be familiar with your background?
Ooh, pressure's on. So my name is Kristen Seavey. I am the host and creator of Murder, She Told podcast. It focuses on mostly New England cases, a lot of unsolved. And we work with families and law enforcement to tell the stories. A lot of the times the cases that are featured on the show have not really been featured anywhere else. Sometimes they aren't even searchable on Google. So we're really doing that like archival digging, record search, if we can. With unsolved, and you don't always get the records that you want. But really, we just want to give a voice to the victims and to the families and have stories that need a platform being told.
So you're very active in the space. You take podcasting as very much a verb.
Yes.
Oh, that's very admirable. I can't say the same about wine.
But, that's why there's different flavors for everyone.
Absolutely. And Aaron, you are definitely a different flavor. Tell the folks about Generation Y.
A different flavor. I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing.
I didn't specify.
Yeah, that's up to the audience to, that's what they always say is it's not really up to you to tell the audience who you are. It's up for them to interpret who you are. And that's the reality of what it's like to be a podcaster or a musician or an actor or really anything that puts you out in the public space where you're vulnerable. So I really got into this because Justin and I, a long time ago, started podcasting, and we really fell into the true crime space because those were the stories that were interesting to read about and talk about, because when it comes to justice, there are so many angles on it. It's funny how a case can go from there's a victim, and all of a sudden now it's not just there's a victim. Now they're creating more victims because now they're arresting and prosecuting the wrong people. And this is one thing that we as people who care, we would like the system to work better. And so one of the things Justin and I always talk about are what are the things that could have gone better? What are the things that people should be looking at? And oftentimes we're told by the very types of people we were asked, are you a cop? Are you a lawyer? Why are you talking about this stuff? The cops and the lawyers will tell you, well, this is our system. And a lot of them are comfortable with it. We're not. And we're going to come out and tell you why this law is not good or why this tactic isn't good. I don't think it's any kind of progress to take a 17-year-old and interrogate them for 10 hours until they give up. That to me is not progress. It's not working a case. So that's kind of what Justin and I do is we strive for justice and we strive really to try and educate people on what works and doesn't work in our system.
Well, you're both so active.
And what about you?
Well, Amanda and I just kind of get drunk and talk about true crime as more of, okay, a lot of people consume true crime as their entertainment, myself included. And I think that's sort of where things get sticky or like icky feeling morally if you think about it. And people ask us a lot of times, like, what kind of stuff, is there anything that you're not going to cover just because one of the primary angles of our show is the comedy angle? And we always say like, well, we would never cover like school shootings or something like that in a way that we're trying to like bring light to something or humor to something because there's really nothing funny about a classroom of dead children, you know? That said, we understand that we're going to cover, like a lot of our cases are very, very dark. And those are the kinds of things we'll dive into and say like, well, sort of like to Aaron's point, what are the systemic injustices that added to the awfulness of this case? How did misogyny play into it? How did racism play into it? Because like racism kind of always plays into fucking everything. But just to kind of examine more of the sociological and systemic factors that contributed to a certain outcome. That said, we try to have fun with it. We try to bring a little bit of humor to it because that is part of the entertainment factor. We understand that true crime is consumed as entertainment. So yeah, we try to give things a good angle, a good well-rounded angle. True crime comedy is not for everyone, but yeah, we try to have fun with it and learn more about these systemic things that contribute to all types of criminality. So yeah, that's Wine and Crime. I really sold it, didn't I?
You did. But I feel like both you and Amanda have like a really tactful way of talking about stuff that appeals to your audience and makes it feel lighter, but also like doesn't shy away from talking about the heavy things and the importance of those things too.
Yeah, we try. I've cried on our show several times, so.
No, I was going to say for people who aren't familiar with what you two do, you and Amanda, that's what stood out to me too is, yeah, you find where to see, you find the comedy, but you also find the things that need to be said and talked about. And a lot of times you're bringing up stuff that maybe the average person hadn't thought of because there's so much insulation with history where you look back and it's like, oh, it's this person, so-and-so. But there's a lot of darkness there too that you may not be aware of because we just say, well, that was a founder or, you know how it is with time. Unless you're digging deep into that history, you don't know all of the stuff that you and Amanda are going to bring forward. So I think that's an important point, despite it being very funny. There's a lot of heavy stuff being talked about there. And that I think that's one thing that unites us is even though we all have our own styles, there is a big part of what we're doing where we want to say something about something. We want to have some effect. And I think Justin and I will often say, we just want people to think about it. They don't always have to agree with what we say, but just think about it.
Yeah, it's like digging up that information and just kind of like loosening the dirt a little bit. And then people can come to their own conclusions, whether they're right or wrong. That sort of brings me, and I am recording an episode with Amanda immediately after we record this. So I was just finishing up my notes, and it is about this case that I'm covering. It's called the White Witch murder that happened near Buffalo, New York. Are either of you familiar?
I don't think I am, but my first thought was the White Witch from Narnia, which obviously is not it at all.
That might get brought up though, right?
Is there a reference to it? Like, why is it called the White Witch?
Because it was the murder of a woman who was believed to be a witch, and she was a white woman. And the whole case had to do, it was these two Seneca Native women who were on trial for this murder. And it incorporates some witchcraft. It incorporates basically the way that this white witch woman, she was French. So she was born in France. She moved to New York. And she was killed by a Seneca tribal healer. Her name was Nancy Bowen. And Nancy came to the conclusion that this French woman was a witch and that she was trying to kill Nancy, or at least members of her community. So she knocked on her door one night and beat her to death with a hammer and then put a chloroform soaked rag in her mouth. I guess maybe to like finish her off, maybe. But then like it comes up in the trial, this anthropologist testifies and he says, well, that's the Iroquois, the Seneca way of dealing with bad spirits. Apparently it incorporates a hammer and chloroform. And so I'm researching this and I'm like, I don't want to say anything or repeat anything that is inaccurate, especially about an indigenous population. But I'm going back through like newspapers.com and all of these local news articles about this murder. And like, I can't really find a lot about what the belief system behind that claim could have been. So I guess when we're researching and trying to add context and trying to be culturally sensitive and aware and just, you know, sort of cover our bases, when you're researching, it can get kind of murky. Like, do you guys run into digging up? This happened in 1930 also. So there's no like, you know, security camera footage or anything like that. But do you guys run into difficulty kind of framing context around a certain event because of just simply lack of information? Maybe it was 100 years ago, maybe it was 600 years ago, maybe it was 10 years ago. But it's kind of, I don't know, the way that we research can just sort of, the way that we frame stories can be heavily impacted on how much is available out there for research. And we've missed the mark sometimes before, but do you guys have similar challenges?
It's honesty, I think. You just have to jump out and say, we really tried to look into this to see where this came from, but we can't verify it. Mm-hmm. And then you can always let people know when you're speculating, or just be honest and say, we didn't figure it out, but it is an interesting detail.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I always try to keep anything that is my opinion or slight of my opinion or speculation, like very clear from what is factually printed. And I mean, like, you know, there can be mistakes in what's factually printed, but I try to pick out the most accurate version possible. And that's what I present as fact. But a lot of the cases like don't have a lot of information available. Like I was looking something up literally last night and there's nothing online about it. There's like 3 articles in the newspapers that I could find. This is a Boston area case. It's still unsolved. And I'm like, okay, great. So I'm going to have to talk to people for this, for if I wanted to do this case. It's a case from 1997. There's literally nothing on it. And it's wild because it's 1997 and you would think that because it's close to modern time that there would be coverage on it. But I find that a lot of the cases from the 80s and 90s, there's really not that much, unless there was some kind of salacious hook that the media caught onto. But if it's just another, like, I don't know, shooting in a living room, that it tends to get buried. And those are the ones that like we really have to dig to find more information and go by accounts. Otherwise, it's just buried.
How do you even start that process, Kristen? If you have a case that you're interested in and you're like, okay, I have to go speak to people and sort of like, you know, leave my house and make arrangements for meetings and stuff. Like, how do you get started? Is that intimidating? And how long does that take?
It really depends as far as the length. I think they take a lot longer because it just, to accumulate all of the information that you need, it just is going to take longer. Because then I also have to like process all of those interviews and kind of pull out all of the information to be able to shape a story from it. Because I don't just put out interviews like this, you know, like this is 3 people who are very used to talking. A lot of the people that I talk to are not used to talking to like a media reporter or something like that. They don't have their own platforms. I usually, if somebody doesn't approach me, that's the easiest. If somebody approaches me and they're like, hey, my dad was killed in 1997 and I really want to get it out there, then that's one person that I can start with. And then I can be like, okay, who else can I talk to? But sometimes I have to like find people, and, you know, that can be a little bit tough, but we're really good at finding people. So it just depends on if they want to talk. And obviously, we respect those boundaries. I'm also a credentialed victims advocate. I wanted to make sure that I had some training under my belt because we're talking to people about the worst stuff that's ever happened to them and trauma that still lingers even decades later. So I just wanted to make sure that they're being taken care of. I try to do as much research as I possibly can prior to talking to people so that I don't have to rely on them to tell me everything that I could find out on my own, just because it's so heavy.
Probably makes them feel more comfortable too. Like, okay, she did her research. It's worth my time to dredge up these horrible memories to talk with her about it.
Yeah. And also, like, the conversations that we start with, I don't record right off the bat. Like, I'll have as many chats with you as you're comfortable with, as I feel like it's evolving, because I want you to kind of like, you know, get to know me and vice versa, and for you to feel comfortable instead of just like, okay, we're going to set up a recording and you're just going to tell me everything. Like, I want you to feel like you're supported in this space and that you're also like kind of a collaborative part of it.
How do you get victim advocate certified?
There's probably an easier way to do it. I think if you go to like NOVA's website, the National Organization of Victim Advocacy, you can take training. So you basically have to do like, I think it's 45 hours or something. I applied to college. I took a college course, and that gave me the hours that I needed to be able to apply for my credentials. Cool. I can only stay on a provisional level because it's really not made for people like me. It's made for people who are like social workers and victim advocates of the state and stuff like that. And there's many levels that you can go up in, but you need like field training. So for me to go up to the next level, I would need to have like some kind of job somewhere that I could then get hours to add to my application to move up. But I'm actually renewing it. I think I was the first. There's a lot of like podcasters and people in the space now that have it. I think I was the first one to do that. And I'm going to be renewing it for the third time. You have to renew it every 2 years and put in additional hours to renew it.
That's real. That never even crossed my mind. But I just Googled it. If you go to trynova.org, you can go to their training section and get more information.
Yep. And then you have to apply through NACP, the National Advocate Credentialing, something that starts with a P. Program.
See, we're recording on the fly, right? So
yeah.
Hard to remember all the steps, but now you've given people a place to start if they're interested. And I know from when I've spoken with families, it seems like you need to lead with empathy. And what I've always tried to do is just feel it out. And if you're not trained, there might be a misstep here or there, but I feel like over the years, it's gone pretty well. And in fact, I've heard many times, you're the first person that's talked to me about this, which is always nice to hear. But as I always tell people, like, we can only help you so far. So what it used to be before podcasts, it felt like stories were kind of buried and they would continually be buried. And then because of podcasts, every one of us we've been able to contribute in some way to help uncover these stories and to spread them more. And one thing that really helps is people thought that they were kind of left behind. And now people are talking about their cases, and it breathes some fresh air into it. Like, they're not forgotten. My family member's not forgotten.
Yeah. And that kind of ties back to the sometimes difficulties in researching cases like that. It's like, I mean, you look at true crime and you're like, wow, there's a lot out there. People who are into true crime are really into it because there's so much content. There's so many crimes to talk about. And then it's like, girl, you don't even know the half of it because you're just thinking about like John Benet Ramsey and O.J. Simpson and stuff like that. But it's like, Kristen, like you said, that was a living room shooting, you know?
Yeah.
Like, and the details behind something as seemingly clear cut as that and seemingly benign as something like that it could break open a serial killer case, you know. And also, to Aaron, to your point, this is the work. talking to them about like the worst days of their lives, you would never expect for a loved one to be murdered, for example. And then at the same time, you'd be shocked at how many people get murdered in however many benign or spectacular ways.
I mean, my spreadsheet is hundreds of lines long. I have different like pages for different sections that like categories, which is mostly like regionally split up. But I have like a Maine spreadsheet. I have a New England spreadsheet. And whenever I come across something, I always just write it down. And there's literally hundreds of lines. Like I could do an episode every single day and still not cover all of the cases in my region.
Oh, that's fucking crazy.
And most of them, like, people don't know about. That's the thing, is that, like, people only know about the ones that are getting the big media, the ones that are getting documentaries made on Netflix. Like, there's so many more that are completely buried in newspapers.com, or not even. The bane of my existence is the fact that not all newspapers are digitized. Because digitization just makes it so much easier.
Yeah.
It would be so amazing.
Yeah, but another thing that I've noticed, so like we have an episode coming out soon, and it's about a man named Ken Middleton who's been in prison for a long time for the murder of his wife, Kathy. And what struck us about the case is a lot of times you go into a case, especially on our show, we try to ask the question, did the husband do it or not? That's a common thing that occurs. And it's all because it's part of justice. Again, if we get the justice wrong, well, now we've got two victims. And in this case, what struck us is Ken guilty? He very well could be. But the fact that the system did not present him with a fair trial, with a decent attorney, the appeals seem to be struck down without any good reason. It becomes a question of, why do we have this system if we can't believe in it? And is it justice if you're putting someone away and they didn't get a fair shake? I know it's tough to say. I mean, because we have cases where we want justice for the deceased so badly, but do we want it so badly that we're willing to take shortcuts and just end up in a situation where, again, I think when you have an erosion of trust, there are those of us who speak up and other people say, you can't talk about the system like that because that's what we have. And if we don't believe in it, then what do we have? And I'm like, exactly. Can't we do better? But that's another conversation that occurs when you're a true crime podcaster or a listener.
Yeah, Amanda and I were just talking yesterday about, I forget what the case was, but we were discussing what it's like to be on a jury, especially a jury member on a trial that is as emotionally complicated as that, where, like, say you have somebody who killed someone in self-defense, and you as a jury have to go back and say, well, yeah, that she did kill him in self-defense, but was it wrong? And you have these very black and white rules as a jury person that you have to stick with. That's what the judge tells you. That's how you have to consider things. You can't put your emotions into it. You can't really put yourself in that person's position. You have to say, did they break the law? Yes. What does punishment look like for that? And that can be really hard, especially, let's see, have either of you done jury duty before?
I did it this year for the first time.
Was it emotionally devastating for you too?
It was not. So it was actually kind of interesting, not to like step away from what you were talking about, but it was for a marijuana OUI.
Oh, for God's sake.
I think that it was a test case because there's really no way, like if you get pulled over and you've been drinking, they can give you a breathalyzer and they can be like, okay, you are a point insert number here, which means that you are over the legal limit, which means that you are driving drunk. They don't have that for weed. And so we really just had to go on what was being presented in court. And what they had was body cam footage and car footage from the police. And we watched the whole thing. We did testimony. I mean, it took 2 days and it did not need to take 2 days. And this kid was very forthcoming. He was like, I have severe anxiety. I smoked before I got in my car. I'm totally fine. I have a license for it. And I usually wait until I get home, but I had a really hard day at work. And we watched the footage. He did all of the sobriety tests, which really aren't made for weed. It's made for drunk driving and, people who have been drinking. The only thing that he didn't really do well on was like the straight line, but he said that he tore his ACL and it's hard to like walk in a straight line anyway. Yeah. And then he like admitted that he was smoking. So I don't know. And also the thing though that got us to find him not guilty, we found him not guilty in 2 minutes. Like we got into the room, we raised our hands and it was just like, okay, great, we're done.
And why
And
did it take 2 days then?
I don't know, because they did like blood work for
trial
him. The
took 2
trial
days.
took 2 days
I
because
thought
there
you
was
meant
testimony
deliberation.
from the state. Testimony from the state mostly took 2 days.
Oh, for God's sakes.
Deliberation took 2 minutes. And the thing that was like the kicker was that the cop admitted that he wouldn't have pulled him over if it weren't for an expired registration. So
he was driving.
He was
fine.
driving totally fine. There was no indication, like you wouldn't have thought twice about this person. The only reason why he pulled him over is he had an expired registration. And then when he rolled down the window, he smelled the weed.
Okay.
So that was my experience on a jury.
Well, that sounds like a very good experience compared to. So when I did it, it was before I think it was before we started the podcast, but I still was very much into true crime because, it's a lifelong thing. And I wish I would have said, well, I guess I wish I would have had the podcast when I was called for jury duty, because I would think that would be an automatic dismissal if your job was in.
They didn't even ask.
Well,
But
I
also,
remember.
I feel like I'm good to be on a jury because I'm going to be one of the more impartial people in the room. I'm like, no, the state needs to do their job. Innocent until proven guilty. Like,
See, okay, that's where my head was at. So mine was a drunk driving case. The defendant comes in. He has, I think it was a neck brace. He had something in a brace, like in the courtroom. Like, okay. And he was like an older white dude. His lawyer was just kind of smarmy. But the other side was just the word of the cops. And looking at this man, I'm like, you're a prick. And you took this to trial because you knew there was a chance that you wouldn't be charged for OWI. So I could see that this defendant was kind of a prick. He probably was drunk driving. But my thing was, the burden of proof is on the state. And in this case, it was the word of one police officer. And I don't trust cops. And I was in the same boat as one other woman on the jury. Everyone else was like, yeah, he obviously did it. I'm like, well, I think he did it too, but it has to be beyond a reasonable doubt. I don't trust police. That is, to me, a very reasonable doubt. So deliberations took 2.5 days because myself and this other woman, she had a bad experience with police in the past. I got her name, but she asked me to please not Google her because she didn't want what came up to tarnish my view of her.
Oh.
So I never did Google her.
You didn't?
No.
I would totally Google her.
But you'll do it right now, huh? We'll wait.
Well, I lost her business card a long time ago. This was
Oh.
like 10 years ago. I wish I would have Googled her.
I'm
But
so
yeah,
curious.
something happened with her that we were both like, we're not trying. No. But it took a couple days and then I was just like, but he probably did do it. And I really want to go home.
But knowing that somebody did do it, like, behind the scenes, and the state proving that they did it in court are two different things,
Two
I mean,
different
it's
things, yeah.
like, kind of think about like OJ. Like OJ definitely did it,
Oh my God.
but
If
the
I did
state
it.
didn't prove it in court.
If I did it.
If.
I know. And that's how I feel about Adnan Syed also. That boy should not be sitting. Well, he's a man now. He should never have gone to prison. The state did not do their job with that, in my opinion. But then, what's the Trayvon Martin? Was that the George Zimmerman, his trial where he got off too? That was another heartbreaker in sort of a similar vein. Because the jury has to go by the information that's presented, and that's it. You can't get your emotions. And then, it just makes it hard. So sitting in the seat of a true crime podcaster and thinking about, it's obviously easy to cast our aspersions on a podcast or speculate or develop our point of view. But then when you're part of the system, when you're acting as part of a jury, it seems radically different, at least in my experience. it was not a good experience, and it kind of wrecked me for a little bit just because of that. It just didn't seem right. It just didn't seem right.
So you wanted the system to work more than you wanted in other words, the system had to work every which way. That was more important than deciding whether you thought the person was guilty or not.
Yeah, in that position, yeah.
Now, you said you didn't trust the cop, but did the cop not have any corroborating evidence to support what they were there for? Or was it just, well, I was there and it was obvious he was drunk?
There was an eyewitness and she testified, but she said that she saw him swerving and she thought he was having a medical emergency. So that was her eyewitness testimony. And then the rest of it was the word of the police officer. There was no body camera footage. There was no documentation that we were like looking at. It was just eyewitness and the police testimony. And the guy, he got pulled over. He refused a breathalyzer. And then something, I forget the details, but it boiled down to if a person can just refuse test after test after test until they sober up enough where the test would come out as below the limit anyway, why wouldn't everyone do that? So like that part of our system obviously failed, if assuming this man was drunk, because I do believe he was drunk. That part of the system is broken. Us as jury people having to be dependent on the testimony of essentially one cop and one eyewitness who saw this for 4 seconds. It just didn't fit. And then
That's
asking
hard.
us to come to a conclusion where we already know that the system is broken. How can we make a clear-cut decision about this if we're looking behind us and there's 6 things that failed up until this point? Do you know what I'm saying? We're playing a game in a system that's just does not work the same for everybody all the time.
Yeah, that's tough. It's tough when you only have such limited information to basically suss out like who's telling the truth.
And I think the worst part was the other jury people were like, obviously he did it. Trust the cops. Go with it. What better evidence do you need? Like, I don't know. There's an assumption that the police are telling the truth. And I would rather err on the side of not believing that than having total faith in the police.
We had to fill out questionnaires leading up to jury selection. Selection was for like, I don't know, maybe like a month's worth of cases, maybe a little bit more. So there was a huge pool and we had to fill out questionnaires, I think to like rule out certain people from certain crimes. Like, do you hate marijuana? Do you think it's morally awful? You know, like those people aren't going to be picked for a marijuana OUI case, stuff like that.
Yeah, one of our questions was, have you ever been convicted of a DUI?
Yeah,
and
that was on there
so
too.
I was selected.
Yep.
Aaron, have you done jury duty?
No, I've gotten notices in the mail and waited and was never selected. I still have never been selected. So I don't know what's kept me from there, but I've always wanted to serve on a jury. That's where Justin has. That's basically where our podcast began, because you go through a trial and you learn things that you wouldn't think would be true, that you wouldn't think would happen. But Justin had those experiences. And it was honestly, I would say, out of all the time that I'd known him, the first time he was calling me and he was really excited to tell me certain things. Like, you wouldn't believe this. And then this happened. He was just like, he just absolutely loved the process. And so that's really, he's like, I don't want to just tell you. I want to tell everyone about this. That's why Generation Y started.
And you guys were like one of the first true crime podcasts, weren't you? Like
We're
the
old.
first. Well, we know you're old, but
No, there's quite a history there. You know, like when we started, it was so long ago that we wanted to know who else was out there. Obviously, it was Dan Zupansky with True Murder. But also there was probably another podcast, which I've since found out about, that's headed up by a true crime author that's been around for freaking forever. But of course, this guy never promotes it or anything. And I don't know where it's ever gone. I don't know how popular it is, but he's been around for a long time too, like we have. So, but I never saw him on the charts. I never, never
What's his
ran
name?
across him until much later when I saw he had made posts some years ago complaining about how no one ever talks about him. But I don't think he promotes it, but it's just this history of you get into it and no one's really there listening. But what we do know is that there's a vast amount of people, I think around the world really, who are interested in true crime, not just as entertainment, but also because it affects so many people. I think we learn a lot by hearing other people's stories, whether we're just trying to give our sympathy or empathy, trying to figure out maybe when we go to the polls or when we're thinking about ways to improve our system, when we're thinking about interacting after, such an incident where you're meeting up with a cop. What do you say to the cop? What do you not say? If you're being pulled into an interrogation room, all of this stuff is educational. And whether it's, mixed with comedy or not, I think the audience is always wanting to learn more and understand everything better because you just never know when this will hit you or your loved ones.
Yeah.
Oh, God. Good point. Also, that's creepy. But you're right. I love learning. And I think that I would do really well in an interrogation scenario.
Let's not
you
put
just
you
wouldn't
in
say
that.
anything.
No, I don't talk to cops. With that, let's take a quick break to hear a word from our sponsors, and then we'll be right back to talk about more true crime bullshit, but not literally because Josh isn't here. I used to wear contacts every day of my life. So when I talk about that panic that sets in when you are on your very last pair of contacts and you didn't plan ahead and order more weeks ago, you know what I'm talking about. Or worse, if you're totally out and you're stuck wearing the glasses with the prescription that haven't been updated in 4 years and you can't drive safely. Yeah. So we've been there. But now I don't even worry about it because I know that my next set is always on the way from 1-800-CONTACTS. They're the only major contact lens retailer that lets me renew my prescription online so I can get my contacts so fast. 1-800-CONTACTS has fast free shipping and delivers the same contacts my doctor prescribes right to my door, all without ever leaving home, which is our favorite thing.
1-800-CONTACTS has been such a miracle staple in our home because I've been an on and off contacts wearer, but my husband is a full-time round the clock, only see those dusty glasses for a few minutes a night contacts wearer. And so I know he relies heavily on this service and they always have his back. And they have for a long time because for over 30 years, 1-800-CONTACTS has been the leader in online contact lens delivery with millions of contacts in stock and award-winning customer service. So if you don't believe me, I'll tell you, here's what sets them apart from everyone else. They offer fast, free shipping on every order and have over 100 million contact lenses in stock. So you're not fighting to find who's ready to ship. They're ready to ship, baby, from their distribution centers across the country. So it's going to get to you quick. They have free returns and exchanges, which means you can order confidently. They even offer unbeatable perks like free torn lens replacement. They're your girl.
Nice.
Yeah. They provide a way to renew your contact lens prescription from home with their online vision exam, their express exam. It takes less than 10 minutes and gives you a doctor-issued prescription that you can use to buy contact lenses. Literally no other major retailer makes prescription renewal this easy. It's such a lifesaver. And their best price guarantee means if you find your contacts somewhere else at a lower price, they're going to beat it. That's a promise you won't find anywhere. They also have extra discounts for new customers on their site. They have 24/7 customer support. So if there's anything you need help with day or night, they've got your back. And whether you have a strong prescription, check, or astigmatism, check. They'll deliver your contacts with fast, free shipping straight to your mailbox. Seriously. They also offer glasses, but if you are a glasses or contacts wearer, 1-800-CONTACTS is your girl. I remember using them when I was a contacts wearer. Bill uses them. It's been such a game changer, and they're so amazing.
Getting contacts doesn't have to be a hassle. Let 1-800-CONTACTS get you the contact lenses you need right now. Order online at 1-800-CONTACTS.com or download the free 1-800-CONTACTS app today.
Hey everybody, I'm Joe Welke. And I'm Vance. And we're the hosts of Boys Watching Buffy, a podcast where we watch cult classic TV shows for the first time ever and break down each episode. We've reviewed Buffy the Vampire Slayer, Angel, Firefly, and despite the name of the podcast, we're currently reviewing Veronica Mars and Dollhouse. So check out our episodes every Tuesday on all podcasting platforms.
If you are like me and you ever wake up soaked in sweat or freezing or just uncomfortable with the temperature in your room, please know that you are not alone and that it's actually like a big problem. The temperature in your bedroom can literally make or break your sleep. All of it. So do what we did and switch to Miracle Made sheets. I'm telling you right now, they are a miracle. They're inspired by NASA technology and use silver-infused temperature-regulating fabric to help you sleep perfectly all night long.
I think my biggest regret of the last 48 hours is that my Miracle sheets were in the laundry last night because I didn't sleep well at all.
Oh,
because I was so hot under my blankets and super cold outside my blankets. There was no in between. It was the least comfortable sleep I've gotten in a very long time. And I blame my Miracle sheets not being in the laundry.
Yep.
So these sheets are incredible. They're crafted with NASA-inspired silver-infused fabric that helps regulate your body temperature all night long. So whether you're sleeping hot, sleeping cold, or a little bit of both, apparently, doesn't matter. These sheets help keep you in the comfort zone all night long. And the fact that they were in the laundry last night is definitely not the norm because thanks to their antibacterial silver technology, these sheets stay cleaner and fresher up to 3 times longer than your regular sheets. So that means like less odor, fewer wash cycles, way less laundry. Hi, you're speaking my language. They're also so comfy. They feel as good, if not better, than sheets that you'd find at a 5-star hotel, but without that steep price tag. They're smooth, they're breathable, they're ridiculously comfortable. And all that hidden bacteria in your regular sheets can clog your pores and cause breakouts. So there's just one more reason that you need to try Miracle Made sheets because their antibacterial design helps you sleep cleaner and clearer night after night.
It's a sheet change night for us, and you best believe my Miracle Maids are on the docket. We're ready to go. So upgrade your sleep or give the gift of better rest. Go to trymiracle.com/gals to try Miracle Made sheets today. You'll save over 40%, and when you use promo code GALS, you'll get an extra 20% off plus a free 3-piece towel set. They make an amazing gift, and with a 30-day money-back guarantee, there's no risk. That's trymiracle.com/gals, code GALS at checkout. And thanks to Miracle Made for sponsoring this episode.
You know what's funny? When it comes to cops, I've had both very good and very bad interactions. And so I'm very neutral on police. But I've noticed that the ones that are bad, it's like, why are you in this job? Sometimes I wonder if some of the police who aren't so good are there because they like having the authority. They love telling people what to do. And, you know, and I think back to BTK, he very much loved authority.
Yep.
Yeah, I just wanted to bring it up because I feel like, I mean, I have listeners who write in or reply to posts and say, you know, there's no such thing as a good cop. But I found that there are good cops. And one thing I've also found is even though a vast majority of the cases we cover have, I don't know, some element of law enforcement not dotting their I's and crossing their T's, most of the cases seem to be getting handled very well. But of course, it doesn't take but a small percentage of cases to go wrong for us to feel like a lot of them are going wrong because that's just how much crime occurs.
I think that goes back to all the systemic issues because when you're talking about individual police officers, my father-in-law and brother-in-law were cops. So I can't, you know, when you're talking about individuals, of course, there are people who are passionate about their jobs. They're passionate about helping people and they do a really great job and their heart is in it. And then, Aaron, like you said, there are also people in law enforcement who just want to put their knee on someone's neck or beat up a black person. Like that's true also. So I think like when I said I would rather err on the side of not trusting cops, the whole system, that whole tree is rotten because of the ones who beat people, the ones who don't do their jobs, the ones who pull women over to rape them in their own cars. You know, there's that too. So do we settle for a certain percentage of cops contributing negatively to society in favor of the ones who are actually making a positive difference? Or do we say this system isn't working? Can we please think of something better? Sort of like our judicial system.
Well, it's very difficult to just say it because a lot of people have made up their minds already on how things are supposed to work. And this is another reason why Justin and I do the show, is we try to offer them alternatives. And one of the alternatives would be, when it comes to police officers, when it comes to prosecutors, there is way too much protection. And I just think, yeah, they should be protected to a certain degree because of the amount of risk involved in the line of work that they do. But I also believe there should be a threshold that if you can clear that, people should be held accountable. And the problem is we keep leaning back on, well, you can't really hold these people accountable and we're not going to let you. Mm-hmm. And then what we end up is with people who know they won't face consequences or believe they won't. And that's why we see when they do go bad, they go real bad. We have prosecutors prosecuting people they know are not guilty. They just want the win. Or you have an officer who is interrogating someone and roughing them up. Oh, yeah, our recording didn't work out, but, they did confess.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that kind of stuff blows my mind. Like, if you didn't get it on tape, but they, like, quote unquote confessed, I don't know. That's not trustworthy to me. That's not a confession.
Yeah, we have stuff on tape that still doesn't help. And if you think about Kelly Thomas, that story, if you're not familiar with that story, look it up. Justin and I covered it many years ago on our Patreon, and it's a devastating story about someone who had mental health issues, and you could hear him crying for help. And, he didn't get help. He ended up dying from the assault.
Ugh, Jesus. Yeah, the issue of qualified immunity, that needs to be definitely looked at. There are like a couple of things that I would consider flaws in our system that I think if they were corrected, they would go a very long way in correcting the rest of the system. Qualified immunity is one of those things. Clearance quotas, clearing a case. We got to find someone to pin it on, or else my boss is going to get mad. How about that kid with a mental disability who we can turn off our cameras and say that he confessed, so that we can close this case, so that we make our quotas, because it's all about numbers, like that kind of shit. And I don't have a solid answer of how, what course of action should be taken, but it's pretty clear that we're not on the right path and we know what doesn't work.
Well, we know it shouldn't be working. It's just there's an acceptance. Like I said, a lot of people will just accept it because they're pro-law enforcement or they're an attorney. They believe in their system. But as an outsider looking in, I mean, some of this stuff seems horrific to us.
We're like judicial atheists.
You're speaking to something right there that really rings a bell for me, because I feel like everybody wants to acquiesce to something like a higher power. And so we're always building up these people to be bigger and badder and more authoritative and smarter. And so we just hand it all to them.
Emphasis on smarter.
We've created gods out of them.
Totally. I mean, it's sort of a basic human need. That's why we have religion. We have to have these structures and this sort of scaffolding to shape our worldview. And if that goes away, that's not good for our mental health. I mean, that's extremely disturbing. So, yeah, I can see why people don't want to dig into it and talk about it and learn about it, because it's just a lot more comfortable to not.
It's better to have faith for some of these people than to have the knowing. Like, oh, I know they did their due diligence. And they have faith in it instead of actually being able to see the proof of that. And we've seen a lot of these cases where you have someone in prison for 20, 30 years or more, and then they have to be let out, and then they have to be paid tens of millions of dollars at times because they've been wrongfully incarcerated, wrongfully convicted. And then we're just supposed to go, well, it doesn't always work. No, there are a lot of these cases. And there are things that you can see from back then where you can tell they knew what they were dealing with, and they just used their authority and their power to keep their way going until they no longer could sustain it. And so that to me is not proof of the system working. It's proof of it not working.
It's proof that there is a length to which you can go so far where you don't want to admit a mistake and start over.
Yeah, and you don't want to get you don't want to have a loss on your record. These people, they live and die by their record. Oh, he's got this many convictions, and it's supposed to sound impressive, but that's just, well, we have faith that he did the right thing every time, or she did the right thing every time. And we have a lot of questions about that. And there are cases I've noticed too where, like I think about Holly Bobo, she was a murder victim and they went after Zach Adams and some of his buddies. And to this day, I have big, big doubts about their guilt. Are they bad people? Oh, yeah. Zach Adams has quite a history. He shot his own mom in the knee, but the person they should have went after, they didn't, mm-hmm. and they're just like, well, look how bad Zach Adams is. And I'm like, look, where this occurred, there were a lot of bad people, but think about what fits the evidence for what we have. And a lot of people say, why do you care about Zach Adams and these guys if they're such bad people? I want justice for Holly Bobo. And if that means you have to start over and we have to work a little harder, then that's what should happen.
I mean, putting the wrong person in prison is not justice. And just because they are bad people does not make them guilty of murder or whatever crime they're being accused of.
And to look at someone and say, you're a bad person, that's a moral high ground. That's a completely subjective opinion. Then that also doesn't mean that someone should go to prison for something that they didn't do, because, again, there is someone who did do it who's still out there. So that's a double injustice.
Yeah, and it really bothers me. I don't know if you're familiar with that case, but her own brother watched her walk away, and from all descriptions, it really doesn't sound like it was Zach Adams. And if Zach Adams was working with other people, you would think there'd be more people around. There was just one person.
Will you refresh us on the Holly Bobo case?
Yeah, I don't think I'm familiar. I know the name, but I don't know the details.
Yeah, I would urge everyone to look it up. And I know that there was a confession where someone confessed. And again, you can say, well, law enforcement can put the screws to somebody and make them talk. There are any number of reasons why someone will say, oh, yeah, this is what happened. And one of the things that bothers me about that case is the fact that there was talk about, there was recordings made and pictures taken of her when she was bound up and everything. And do they have these? No, but sure, they can talk about them all they want. That's the kind of stuff that drives me crazy, is people can literally go up and say whatever they want in a court of law. And if there's no disputing it, then it's like it happened. And I just ask everyone, like, well, if there were such recordings, this would be a done deal. No one would be questioning the conviction of Zach Adams if they had proof that he and his buddies or whatever had taken such videos or recordings or pictures, but they don't exist. So what now? So again, it's just about making sure we hold the system to be honest, to be accountable. And I get mistakes will be made. We've not seen it often, but once in a while, a prosecutor will come along and say, you know what? I'm going to drop the charges. I'm not going to pursue a second trial against this individual because we have more information now. And I love that. I love when someone can come out and admit, hey, we don't have enough now to get a conviction. We did then, but in light of more information, we don't. And that's where I wish the system was more honest. But again, because we know they can get away with stuff, they'll take it as far as they can because it's more about the success of their case than about getting it right.
I did look up the Holly Bobo case. I remember this. She just like walked into the woods with like a hunter, or she walked into the woods with some man, and then, but like it was like her brother's friends had her like tied up.
When and where?
No. So like her brother, he thought it might have been her boyfriend and that they were arguing. And then later he realized like it wasn't that, but it was confusing. I think it comes down to, like sometimes something will occur and you, on retrospect, you think, well, I should have said or done this. You don't really come up with the answer then. You realize it later and it must haunt him. But, that assumption, when we make assumptions, it can haunt us because at first it's a boyfriend. Now it's not. The guy's wearing camo. The boyfriend was supposed to be hunting maybe or something. I think it was turkey season or something. But long story short, she's taken away. And then, of course, she's deceased.
Okay, so this happened in Darden, Tennessee in 2011. And she was shot in the back of the head. Ooh, okay. Yeah, it is weird looking at cases as they develop. So from our perspective, either a case, assuming a case is solved, or like in a lot of Kristen's cases, unsolved, from our perspective, we have like this trail of evidence and clues of what happened and like a timeline of events, and things are just sort of more cleaned up because we already know what happened if the case is solved. But then if you're watching a case develop in real time, you have all of these other like things that might be evidence, might not be evidence, might be a rumor, might not be. And really all it does is to serve as a distraction, because once the case is solved, then you can kind of clean it up and be like, oh yeah, that didn't matter, or that wasn't her boyfriend, it was a random person, or, you know, things just become clearer in retrospect. But when you're watching something unfold in real time, it's crazy how many details can either be like the one detail that's going to break the case, or it's not relevant whatsoever. And like parsing that out is enough to drive someone crazy. That's why like some investigators, I think about this all the time. If like an investigator on the scene of a crime looking at, you know, stuff on the floor, like, oh, there's a piece of tissue here, there's a magazine here. What's evidence and what is just someone's messy room? You know, I would not make a very good investigator, because I would bag absolutely everything. None of it would be important. Just parsing out what is actual evidence that makes a difference in a case and what is just noises. It stresses me out just thinking about it.
Oh, I'll tell you what, there are lots of cases we can come up with that are good examples of this. And I'll just name two. JonBenet Ramsey.
Yes.
A ransom note. So she's kidnapped. Well, we know that wasn't true. And then the second one is Ellen Greenberg, you know, because the investigator asks, like, what's going on? And her fiance is saying, oh, yeah, she locked herself in the apartment and she's, you know, harmed herself. And it's just like these assumptions when you look at it, and then they run with it. And then you lose ground. Every minute that you're just operating under this assumption, you're losing ground.
I mean, that can affect unsolved cases too. So there's a case out of Seabrook, New Hampshire. His name is Curtis Pishon. It was featured on Unsolved Mysteries like in the early 2000s. He disappeared while working a job at a plant. And right off the bat, they thought that he had died by suicide. Now, Curtis had MS and he couldn't walk long distances. And this plant was in kind of the middle of nowhere, like it's around woods and rivers, and they never found a body. But the police kind of got sidetracked thinking that it was suicide. And Curtis's dad was a military police officer, and he just he died this past year, but I spoke with him for the episode that we did on Curtis, and he just kind of had to step back and because he's like, this is not my case, but I don't think that it's suicide. And now it's definitely not suicide. Like something happened. But I think in those early days, because there were blinders on, they didn't get everything that they needed to, I think, really early on, evidence-wise, because they were looking at suicide, the lead detective from the police department.
That has to be so frustrating for the family, too.
Yeah.
Like,
especially,
you didn't know that person.
Yeah. Well, especially being, you know, like a high-ranking military police officer, like he is an investigator, but this is not his jurisdiction, and he respects, you know, those lines. So he was just like, there wasn't anything that I could do. Like I really tried to push that this is not what happened. And there's evidence that supports that that's not what happened, other than the fact that Curtis didn't just walk off into the woods. Like he could barely walk sometimes. And this was one of those nights where like he couldn't even do a full round. He was a security guard. He was originally a Concord police officer, Concord, New Hampshire. And he had to be medically retired because of the MS. So this is as close as he could get. So all of the things kind of like pointed to possible suicide. But then if he was going to do it, he would have done it with his gun. But then they found the gun in his apartment. And where did he go? You know, they like did big searches of the woods nearby, but he's still never been found. It's a case that really, really still sticks with me. I think of his family a lot.
I always bristle when police say, oh, it was probably suicide. Because to me, that's sort of the equivalent of like you report your child missing. Oh, they just ran away. They'll be back. Kids run away. People kill themselves.
They'll get hungry. They'll come back.
Well, like, yeah, that's true. But also, and I'm not suggesting that you can always tell who could possibly have ideations like that. You know, you can't look at someone and tell if they're depressed or hurting or anything. But if if a family member is telling you that it wasn't suicide, then, and the cops are just like, yeah, it was. What? I don't know. That just seems like piss poor detective work and lazy and really dismissive.
They don't want to work the case. It also happens when someone goes missing and they'll say, well, if they haven't been missing for 24 hours, then why are you reporting it? Well, we know that it's critical to find someone in the first 48. So you don't want to lose any ground. If they're bothering you, it's probably important.
Isn't that a myth too, the whole 24-hour waiting period? Or does it depend on the where?
I get this question. I don't know. It probably happens every so many months. People ask me about that. And I just tell them it should not be a thing, but people can make it a thing. Law enforcement can absolutely just refuse to do that. You can't make them go and search for your loved one. If they say they're not going to go look into it, they're not looking into it. So it's not like legally a thing, but they can make it a thing.
God, that sucks. So much of what we're talking about just boils down to human nature.
Right.
And how we can't trust ourselves.
Well, see, I like how you said ourselves because we're people, and all the people who are lawyers or police officers or victims, everyone's just a person. And all of our choices, especially when they become public through a case, they're all known and people want to judge each other. But the question really comes down to what kind of choices would we be making if we were a police officer, if we were an attorney operating within this system that we have?
Absolutely.
I think it's easy for you and I to talk about what we would do because we're outside of it. But for those who have lived and operated within the system, this is just the way things are. And
did you see how I crumbled in jury duty? I'm not built for this as my reality.
You're safely behind the mic in a basement.
I'm comfortable where I'm at. I'm not in my basement, Aaron.
It's a joke. It's, it's that old thing like podcasters would record in their basement or in a closet.
I do record in my closet, so I'm not in my closet now.
I record in my office.
Fancy.
We're not judging anyone for where they're recording.
Unless it's the basement.
Yes. I think that people also judge what they don't understand. Like if there's a situation, I don't know, with a case and somebody reacts a weird way and they're like, well, I wouldn't react that way. But it's like you don't actually know how you would react because you've never been in that position. So I try to take a step back and not judge, whether it's a family member's reaction to something or what they do in the aftermath of a death or, I don't know, a suspect or somebody. I try to just take a step back and not immediately think well, I wouldn't do that, Like not crying when their loved one is dead. Right.
I've actually spoken with a person or two who's told me that they couldn't cry for many months. Mm-hmm. It's like they steeled themselves to get through the investigation and everything else. And then eventually they reached a point where they broke down. And I think most people, it's in their nature to cry immediately, especially someone who's close to you who's harmed. But I think it's a great point, Kristen. We need to step back and think, especially when it comes to these 911 calls, they'll say, oh, well, it seemed like he was walking around. Was he trying to clean up the scene while he was talking? Or he seemed to have all the answers. It seemed like he steered the conversation. It's easy for us to get fixated on that. Yeah.
Yeah.
He was too dramatic. That's a great one.
Yeah, it is kind of just more distractions. However, Chris Watts, when his first interview, when his wife and kids were still missing, and he said he referred to one of his daughters in the past tense. And I saw that interview when my mom sent it to me and she was like, this guy's fishy as fuck. And I watched it and I was like, past tense, he killed him. He killed them. And I was 100% sure. And guess what? I was right. And also sometimes when Amanda's reading her cases, I like to cheat and just be like, can I feel sorry for this person or not?
Damn.
I want to know if they're the bad guy so that I don't empathize with them.
You're trusting in Amanda.
That's my first mistake. All right, let's take one more quick break to hear another word from our sponsors, and then we'll be right back to finish up our true crime convos.
AI agents are everywhere, automating tasks and making decisions at machine speed. But agents make mistakes. Just one rogue agent can do big damage before you even notice. Rubrik Agent Cloud is the only platform that helps you monitor agents, set guardrails, and rewind mistakes, so you can unleash agents, not risk. Accelerate your AI transformation at Rubrik.com. That's RUBRIK.com.
The holidays are back at Starbucks, so share the season with a peppermint mocha. Starbucks Signature Espresso, Velvety Mocha, and cool peppermint notes, topped with whipped cream and dark chocolate curls. Together is the best place to be at Starbucks.
'Tis the season for identity theft. This time of year, most of us are checking off our holiday gift lists. But guess what? Identity thieves have lists too, and your personal information might be on them. Protect your identity with LifeLock. LifeLock monitors hundreds of millions of data points every second and alerts you to threats you could miss by yourself, even if you keep an eye on your bank and credit card statements. If your identity is stolen, your own U.S.-based restoration specialist will fix it, guaranteed, or your money back. And all plans are backed by the $1 Million Protection Package. The last thing you want to do this holiday season is face drained accounts, fraudulent loans, or other financial losses from identity theft all alone. Make this season about joy, not identity theft, with LifeLock. Save up to 40% your first year. Call 1-800-LifeLock and use promo code IHEART. Or go to lifelock.com/iHeart for 40% off. Terms apply.
Because I don't know about all of you, but especially it's getting toward the end of the year. You know, I got my birthday this month, which is cool. But
Me too.
like, it feels like it's easier to get down and get a little gloomy. Mm-hmm. So I need to really rely on things like my cats or whatever to try and boost my mood.
Cats are great. I love cats.
When are your birthdays?
December 7th.
I'm writing this down.
That's my dad's birthday.
Oh,
He's going to
hey.
be in town for his birthday.
Nice.
So that's kind of neat. And then mine's on the 28th.
Just after Christmas.
My daughter's is the 18th. We're having a dinosaur-themed birthday party. She'll be 2.
I want to
love
go
it.
now. I love dinosaurs.
What's her favorite dinosaur?
Well, she can't really say anything. She just says dinos.
Okay.
Yeah, she doesn't have a favorite yet. Just dinos. And also dragons are dinos too, so.
Now the next step, please, get her into kaiju.
What's that?
Kaiju?
Yeah.
Let's see if you can see it.
Ooh.
Oh.
Oh, he's cool.
This is Gamera. So like Gamera, Godzilla, what have you, you know?
Okay.
Because
looks
if
like
you're
an
into
ankylosaurus.
dinosaurs, you could very easily be into kaiju.
Yes.
That's
I
been
was-
my thing anyway.
I was so fucking into dinosaurs when I was little.
Me too.
I still am. You know, like they have the whole thing about the T-Rexes. So if you watch Jurassic Park, they have these big teeth all the time and they're growling. And they say in real life, they were probably more like iguanas and they had these big lips that covered their teeth.
T-Rexes?
Yeah.
Well, that's way less dramatic.
Don't we know that they were really huge? Or are you saying they would be like huge
What I'm
iguanas?
saying is they have made them look a little scary. Now, I'm sure it would be terrifying anyway, but I'm saying like the lizards, their mouths, their lips cover a lot of their teeth.
Oh,
They'll
so they
bear
weren't as
them when they're going to
menacing.
bite or something, but the T-Rexes don't have just these big teeth showing all the time like that. They actually had kind of like lips. And so there are a lot of things that we've made look a certain way for the movies, but in reality, there's actually a cool YouTube video where they changed the dinosaurs in Jurassic Park to what they actually look like, not like what they did in the movie. And like those raptors were way too big. They're smaller and they were covered in feathers. They're actually more terrifying, I think, in reality than they were in the movie. They made them look more like T-Rex Juniors.
Yeah, they did.
Cute.
They were good villains, though.
I'm a dinosaur nerd, so I'll just back off now.
Well, my favorite dinosaur is Parasaurolophus, if you know what that is.
Oh, yeah?
Ooh. I'm going to Google it. I've Googled so much during this con.
It's a cool one. He's got like a horn in the back. He's got like little T-Rex arms.
One of my favorites is the Ankylosaurus.
That's my favorite, Aaron. Oh my
I
God.
don't know why I love it so much, but you know, years ago, there was a listener who sent in a custom T-shirt of one. It was a green shirt with an Ankylosaurus on it, and I still have it. So why is it your favorite? I don't know what it is about it, but I love it.
I liked how low, they're low and they're just little tanks. They're fully armored and they have like cool like heads. I don't know.
Yep.
I just thought they were kind of cute.
Low
Are
riders.
they the ones with like the spikes?
Yeah, they have like almost like a turtle shell.
Around the edges. And I love turtles too. So, and then it has like this big club on the end of its tail.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
It's
okay,
got
yeah.
two things
It's
on
like,
the end of
boom.
its...
Yeah, I know what you're
And
talking
then they can
about.
have little spikes on them too sometimes. But yeah, they're just neat. I don't know. I love dinosaurs. I love the history of all of that. And it really is funny thinking about how long dinosaurs were around compared to humans.
Forever.
I can't wrap my head around it. Like it goes too far back and the world looks so different that I cannot wrap my head around the fact that those lived here.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe not like here in Maine, but here as in the earth. It's cool.
And most dinosaurs, for most of the time dinosaurs existed, were like this big. They almost all of them were really tiny.
They'd
You
make
mean they
great
were
pets.
cute?
They were cute. Okay, let's get back into this.
Oh, I forgot. I thought we were doing a dinosaur show.
I'm like,
now.
we could
Yeah.
look,
Oh,
we
do you
could
wanna
put that
keep
in
it?
there. Maybe.
No,
If it,
yeah, keep going.
Well, I wanted to ask you guys. It sounds weird to say like your favorite case, but I'm sure you get asked a lot by listeners, like, what is your favorite case or the most memorable case or something like that. But that is a weird way to look at it. Probably more for you two than it is for me, because we've covered a lot of really ridiculous cases. But I tend to gravitate towards the really, really fucking weird unsolved ones, like the ones that possibly involve like aliens or something that we don't fully understand. Like that guy who was found on top of the pile of logs, but like his pants were inside out. And there was like no way for him to have gotten up there. Like he was obviously abducted. I'll find it. But do you have like a genre of case or something about a case that really intrigues you?
I mean, I guess for me, one thing I think Justin and I gravitate towards a lot is was it murder or was it something else angle? Like, was it suicide? And I think it's our nature to want to dig out the truth, especially when there are secrets. As we know, people are secretive. A lot of the people we know might even be wearing masks all the time. We're aware of it because whenever they're around us, they act a certain way. But when they're not around us, they act a different way. So you have cases like the Ray Greicar case. And, was he murdered? Or did he decide to end it? And then people will take secrets to the grave with them. And sometimes those secrets are they were into something and someone murdered them for it. And we don't have enough evidence left over at the end to make sense of it. So just like with puzzles or pareidolia with the clouds, like we try to make sense of what we're looking at, but it's always going to come down to speculation. And those kinds of cases are interesting because we just really want to know what happened. And I think it bugs us not knowing what really happened.
What is pareidolia?
It's where you look up the clouds and you think, oh, that looks like a skate, or that looks like a bird, or, it's
Skate
because
the
our
fish
minds, we're always trying to figure out puzzles. That's one of the reasons why humans are around and thriving, is because we like to try and make sense of things.
And we recognize the patterns, and that's also why we tend to see faces in things.
Yeah.
Because we want to see faces in things.
Was that Mary on the burrito, or was that just, the burrito? I don't know.
Well, if it was Mary on the burrito, you should put it on eBay because somebody will pay hundreds of dollars for that on eBay.
Well, it's a limited time deal because that burrito won't last forever.
Exactly.
Especially with habanero sauce on it.
Oh, God, I'm hungry. Okay, I Googled the case that I was thinking of. It's Zygmunt Adamski. This happened in 1980. He was a 56-year-old Polish-born coal miner from West Yorkshire, England. His body was found 5 days after he disappeared, lying face up on top of a 10-foot-high pile of anthracite coal. So it was on top of a huge pile of coal that he could not possibly have, climbed up on, in a railway yard in Todmorden, which is a town he had no known connection to. His shirt, wallet, and watch were missing. He had 1 day's worth of beard growth despite being missing for 5 days. He had mysterious burns on his head, neck, and shoulders with a peculiar ointment on one burn that forensic scientists could not identify. And then a local police officer who investigated the scene later reported his own separate unexplained UFO encounter near the same area months later. It was aliens. They sucked him up. They burned him. They put medicine on him. Then they let him back down on a big pile of coal. That's the
And
only.
they put his pants on wrong.
That's so weird.
I might be misremembering the pants thing, but
Well, I
his
can't
shirt
get out
was
of my head
missing.
now. It's there. So you're saying that they dropped him from the ship? They're
They
like, just
sucked him
dump him
up.
out there on that pile and we'll go.
Yeah, there had to have been some sort of like time weirdness if his beard wasn't growing. Maybe they took him to another dimension where time went slower.
I've seen Interstellar, so yeah. I mean, it depends on where they took him.
I see no issues with this theory. It's the only thing that makes sense.
So you believe in
so
flying
bizarre.
saucers and aliens from other planets?
I believe that we would be incredibly naive to think that we know everything that goes on.
No, I agree with that for sure.
Jinx.
So whether that means aliens, ghosts, astral projection, stuff like that, why not? Makes sense. I'm buying it.
That's pretty funny, though.
It's arrogant. It's arrogant to say that stuff, there's no way that exists. Like, grow up. Where were we 500 years ago? And that's nothing. Like, we didn't even wash our hands.
Well, do you know how far apart, like basically flight with a plane and us going to the moon was like 60 some odd years, really?
Yeah, it's fucking
It's
crazy.
insane. And so if we can do that, what can some other species on some far away distant planet do? I mean, there's no telling.
That's what I'm saying.
Mm-hmm.
I was going to say that going to Ireland actually put it into perspective, like how old things are and how young things in the United States are comparatively. Because I've never been overseas. That was my first time. And I'm like, I'm standing in something that was built in like 1050. That's old.
I saw, sometimes you see like random facts that's like will blow your mind in terms of like how you perceive time, things existing. The Oxford University existed before the Aztec Empire.
What?
Yeah. Isn't
See,
that
that's a I can't wrap my
fucking
head around
nuts?
that.
Oxford, the first classes or education at Oxford was in like 1093 or something fucking crazy.
I think I just saw this because there's a YouTube channel called Rare Photos, and they show you the oddest photos from throughout history. And it's funny, there's one that keeps repeating on a lot of these types of channels that's all about when they first were putting in lighting, like electric lighting into like hotels or whatever. They'd have these signs that would say, do not attempt to turn on the lamp by lighting it with fire, basically. Like letting them know there's a switch for this, But yeah, we're surprised all the time when you learn things that you didn't know, didn't put it into context, and then you're like, wait, really? You have no idea. The world is very interesting, I think.
The world is interesting. Kristen, speaking of Ireland,
Hey.
tell the people what happened in Ireland.
All right. So last year at this time, we did a conversation with Charlie from Crime Lines. And I remember you talking about going to Ireland on your Trova trip. Totally went out of my mind. At that point, I didn't know I was going to Ireland, but I went to Ireland. And I went to Ireland in September, and it was awesome. And I went with my cousin, and we were talking about what are the odds that you would run into somebody that you know in a foreign country? Like, the odds have to be slim. Like, she and I had a conversation about this, I think that same day, if not like a day before. And then all of a sudden, we're at the Rock of Cashel. We have she's leaving the next day. Me and Byron are staying a little bit longer, like 2 more days in Dublin. And all of a sudden, I hear this voice, and it sounds like Amanda, and it's
This
loud.
voice.
And it's walking up the hill, and I look over, and I swear to God, it happened in slow motion. It was Amanda, and she was yelling up the hill to you. And I mean, it registered so slowly, and I was just like, hi. And then I could see it register in her face too, because you just don't expect to see people that you know.
No, it
and
takes
then we
a
just
second
start
to piece it together when it's so out of context.
and the piece of the moment just went all out the window, and people were watching because everything got really loud, and it was just so crazy. And I could tell that your tour guide was starting to get annoyed.
Well, we clamored, I think would be a appropriate word. But Aaron, to set the scene, Rock of Cashel, gorgeous, sweeping views. It's
Loved
the
it.
only sunny day Ireland has ever had. It's beautiful. There's a literal harp player, you know, she's just like busking for like, you know, but she's playing a whole full stand-up harp. It's the most beautiful. There's sheep in the field. And then all of a sudden, Amanda just goes, "Oh my God, what the fuck are you doing here?"
Yeah.
And it's Kristen in Ireland. We were like,
at the same time, I'm like, what are the odds? What are the odds? Especially because I had that conversation. And I'm like, I mean, it's got to be a low odd. I was like, yeah, I'll never see anybody that I know. And then I see you guys and I'm like, oh my God.
It's a very small world.
And my cousin heard it when she was in the bathroom and she didn't know that was me. And I was like, oh my God, you missed it. You missed me seeing someone I know in Ireland.
That's so weird. I ran into someone I know in Laos. And to be fair, we knew him. It was when we were living in China, and he was American, and I knew him from being a fellow American teacher at this university. But that was in China. We weren't close to. I didn't know he was going to be there, and he didn't know I was going to be there. And then we ran into each other on the street. It was at like 7 a.m. It was so odd.
That's so cool, though. Like, just the odds that would happen just blows my mind.
Aliens.
It was, I mean, that's the only explanation is that aliens put me at the Rock of Cashel on that specific day at that specific time to see you.
Yep. And you only had 1 day's worth of beard stubble.
Oh, my.
Shit's weird and crazier things have happened. And sometimes you hear about a case or a story or a theory and you're like, there's no way, but there is a way. There's always a way.
Yep. It's always good to keep an open mind because, yeah, crazier things have happened.
And that all tying back to human foibles.
Yeah.
Every single memory is just a memory of the last time you remembered it. So
yeah, it's like you're playing your own game of telephone.
Yeah. So don't trust your memories. Obviously.
So you wouldn't trust when people come back 12 years after the conclusion of a case and they have new testimony? I remember it now. I remember it clear as day now. I didn't remember back then.
No, I wouldn't trust that. Well, it
depends. Take it with a grain of salt.
I would take it with a grain of salt. Yeah.
I mean, I think that there's other ways to like kind of verify that, but you know, you have to like put that work in. Like what else lines up from the scene of the crime or from the circumstances that corroborates that? You know, you can't just take someone's word for it.
Mm-hmm. I have really vivid dreams. I'm a very vivid dreamer. So I sometimes don't know whether something is a memory from reality or if it's something that I dreamt. And this morning, I dreamt last night that I kept hitting my head on like various things. Like I opened a drawer straight into my forehead. And I woke up this morning, I have a bruise. I don't know what happened.
Well, I hope you don't start dreaming of Freddy Krueger.
That's what popped into my head.
Because then we're going to have a problem.
Yeah, you'll wake up and your pajamas will be slashed on the side.
I used to work with a woman who she told me she knows that when she was younger, and it still happens sometimes to this day, she is abducted by aliens in her sleep. And she doesn't remember it, but she'll wake up with, like, for example, dirty feet. She will have dreamt that she was like running through a field or something. There's like something to do with aliens. And it's not just sleepwalking because she like won't have left her house. She would have been sucked out the window somehow, taken across town to this field that she dreamt she was in, running around, and then dropped back in her bed.
I'd start sleeping with like a body cam so that I could get this all on camera.
She's made peace with it. It's just something that happens.
Yeah, I think a lot of people who have these stories say stuff like that. It's for them, they don't need to try and verify anything. Mm-hmm. They just have already accepted it. And I know Whitley Strieber wrote a lot of books about these things. I don't know. I've never had an alien encounter where I thought something was going to abduct me. But I don't know. The stories are interesting, I guess.
But does that mean that you've had an alien encounter? Because you did say I've never had an alien encounter where I thought I was going to get abducted.
No,
which
I did.
Means...
I did have some years ago. I saw the only mysterious thing I've ever seen, which was there was an object in the sky that I couldn't explain, and it was flying along over the trees, parallel to the road I was driving down. And at first, I thought it was just the light coming off the power lines, but it wasn't that because I am looking at it and it looked like onyx and it had a very specific shape, but it also looked to me like if there was a person in it. I think I'm 6 foot. So if I was trying to be in that, I would have to be lying all the way down because it wasn't that tall of an object, but it was long. And it kind of looked like a long, flat stone almost, but it was just flying. And I tried to keep watching it, but I'm driving at night and there are lots of deer in our area and I didn't want to get hit in case some jumped out. So I kept looking back between the road and this object. And eventually I had to turn. And when I tried to look back as I was turning, because there was no one else on that road with me at that point, I didn't see it anymore.
I've seen one mysterious flying object, but we were staying at the Little Alien in Rachel, Nevada, which is near the actual Area 51. So I think it was just government testing, but it was really cool. It was like a light in the sky and you could tell it was up. You could kind of tell how far up it was. And it was right at dusk. And then it was kind of moving. And then all of a sudden it went whoosh, really fast all the way across the sky. And it wasn't like a star or anything because I had been looking at it and then it just went. And then I went out, I told Corey that I saw it and he got really jealous and we ran outside and we were standing in the road and I was like, I saw it right there. He stood there for probably an hour just getting more and more enraged that I had seen a UFO and he had not. And he was, he made us watch Independence Day before we went to bed. Oh. And he left the window open, so in the hopes that he would be abducted.
Oh, my God.
I'm telling you, I can almost understand that because I remember when I was a kid, like 15 or whatever, I would go with my cousin up to his family's property. And I think it was near White Cloud in Michigan. And we would lay out because they had a big, like 80 some odd acres. And we would just lay out on the hill and sometimes we'd just say, come get us. Come down and get us. Or we go into the basement of the old farmhouse where we'd stay because it was an earthen basement. And we would look for ghosts. We thought, oh, surely it's got to be haunted. Never found, never heard anything, never saw anything. And it was always disappointing.
You got to let
Maybe
them
that's why
come
I'm a
to
skeptic
you.
now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Most of my childhood was spent looking for ghosts with my cousin, too.
Totally.
There you go. Let's get the Ouija board. Let's figure this out.
I would totally do that. But I feel like you have to have a Ouija board that you get in like an old farmhouse that you found behind a wall. Like you can't just go to Walmart and buy a Milton Bradley Ouija board and then have it work.
No,
unless it's from like
just
the 70s.
A tool.
Too corporate, huh?
Yeah.
What about from Etsy? Would that count?
If it's old. I mean, I want give me the Ouija board that's like got ghosts in it, that's haunted. And then we're going to just recreate The Exorcist.
Preloaded Ouija board. I'm going to be looking for this on Etsy now.
Okay.
I'm going to look for it.
Preloaded.
Next time we're in the same space, we can all just do a nice little seance.
Yeah. With our powers combined, we'll definitely summon some ghosts.
So we already have plans for 2026 then, it sounds like, if we remember.
Well, I have had a ghost experience that I genuinely believe was an actual ghost experience. And this is tangentially related to my former coworker who regularly gets abducted by aliens. So, you're familiar with post-mortem photography, like Victorian era.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah.
Well, I was rooting through a bin of old pictures at an antique mall with my mom, and I found a photo of a whole family, and then there's a boy sitting in a chair in front, in the middle, and he's holding a doll, and he's like, he's dead. And I showed my mom, and she's like, he's not dead, he's just sleeping. And I'm like, I know more about this than you do. This is the only photograph that these people have ever taken in their lives. He wasn't sleeping. So obviously I bought it, and it was $2.75. And I had it up on I had like an oddities shelf in my apartment in the dining room, and I would show everyone because I was very, very proud of it. And then one night I was home by myself, and it was propped up on the shelf, and it had a die in front of it. And I was getting ready to go to bed, and I heard a loud clatter, and I was like, what the fuck is that? Oh my God, it's that dice with my little boy picture. That sounds so gross, my little boy picture. I knew right away. And so I was like, oh fuck, I just turn on the lights, and both my cats are crouched down. Their tails are all puffed up big, like, oh God, it wasn't one of the cats. And the photo's laying face down on the floor. And so I was like, okay, I can't deal with this right now. I picked it up. I set it on the table. I went to bed. I shut the door and I'm like, I'm dealing with this tomorrow. I cannot let myself get like scared because I was home by myself. And then I have my eye mask on. I'm going to sleep. I'm drifting off to sleep and I feel like pressure on the pillow right next to my head. And I reach over to see like which cat it was. And both cats were not in the room and the door was shut.
Oh, hell no.
So that didn't feel great. So the next day I went to work. I told my friend Jan, the alien one, and she's like, you should talk to my roommate, Charles. He's a psychic who used to work for the CIA during the Cold War.
Ooh.
So he was a young child who had psychic abilities who the CIA somehow got access to him. And they were training him to be, the movie / book Men Who Stare at Goats?
I never saw it.
Yes. I know what you're talking about.
A secret CIA program dealing with like psychics, like psychically harming the Russians. So that was a real program and he was in it and it like fucked him up because he was so sensitive that he could feel all of this. And so his mom got him out of the program and he's just been a psychic and really, really sensitive to other people. Like he doesn't really go out into public very often because it's too much for him. So anyway, she gave me his number and I called him and he was like, oh yeah, that was the little boy's mother because all of her grief and her anger was directed towards this photograph that she kept on her bureau for the rest of her life. And it being where it is in your house and you not having the same respect for it made her really mad. So that was her energy that flung the photo off and then it scared the little boy and he was climbing into bed with me for comfort.
Ooh, that's creepy.
I know, like I have goosebumps. I've told this story so many times that it's so creepy.
You could have been in a Conjuring movie.
I could have been.
Or The Changeling. Have you heard of The Changeling with George C. Scott?
Yeah.
Back from 1980 or whatever it was?
Yeah.
That's a creepy movie with the little ball, the bouncy ball from the boy.
Oh,
boom,
God.
Boom, boom, down the stairs. Oh, my.
Changelings are fucking creepy. But he told me how to like be respectful, apologize to the mom, ask the little boy to go away and not freak me out anymore. And I haven't had an incident since then. But I fully believe it. It was very, very weird.
I would have told you not to lock the cats out. I would have had the cats in the room.
Well, I just shut the door. I didn't notice whether they were in or out of the room. That's why I thought one of them was on my pillow. But nope, it was a ghost boy.
The episode of Unsolved Mysteries that scared me the most as a kid is the one where there's the shadow man ghost, this little girl or this boy, somebody sees ghosts. And one of them is a shadow man that he was afraid of. And he's like laying on the bed. And next to him is the imprint of a person that lays down. That scared me so much as a kid that I would put my stuffed animals on the side of the bed so that there wouldn't be any space for a ghost to lay next to me.
That's smart.
Yeah.
That's a good loophole.
They just like push them off anyway. And they're like, I'm laying down.
I don't think a ghost would be deterred by stuffed animals, but you never know.
Exactly.
I don't know the rules.
I do have a ghost encounter. I'm like, I could tell it, but I know we are getting towards the end.
Tell it, I
so
think.
You're teasing people,
yeah,
not
you gotta
sharing
tell
your
it.
story.
Okay,
and then
fine.
they'll feel let down. They'll be like,
Well,
I need that story before you shut this off.
Okay, so I worked for years in Sleepy Hollow, New York. Exactly what you think it is. Sleepy Hollow, Ichabod Crane, that whole space is real that Washington Irving wrote about. And it's very historic, very old. And that's how me and my best friend met. His name's Julian. And for years, we would work there like during the seasonal Halloween season. And we would stay with one of the producers of the show that we were working on. And first, she lived in Greenwich, Connecticut, in this gorgeous old house that was definitely haunted. But I think stuff followed her. And she was at the new house. And I can't remember what house this was. There was two other houses that were around like Rye, New York in upstate. And Julian and I were sitting upstairs, like just to kind of explain this house. It was kind of like a split level where like you go, the driveway is like right by the garage. But when you go into the garage, you go into a room that's kind of like a playroom or like an entry room. And then you have to go up a set of stairs to get to like the main level of the house. So we were up in this main level of the house where the kitchen was, just sitting at the counter, talking. It was after a show. And we were waiting for the director to come back because he was also staying at this producer's house. And we're just sitting there. And then all of a sudden we hear a man's voice very distinctly downstairs say something like, "Hey guys, I'm here." And both of us just like turn around and we say, "Hey, we're upstairs," like thinking that it was Lance, the director. And then a few minutes goes by and nobody comes up. We don't hear anything else. And we're like, is Lance here? Like, where did he go? And then we look out the window and Lance's vehicle is not in the driveway.
Oh my God.
And it was so clear. Both of us thought that somebody broke into the house. We grabbed knives to go explore to find out if someone was in there.
Oh my God, I love that.
It was so clear. And I don't know how to explain it.
Yeah, that's really creepy. That would stick with you.
Yeah, especially because both of us just like automatically just responded to this person, like, "Hey, we're up here," and nothing happened.
Oh my God. There's a creator I follow on TikTok. She does spooky, scary stories, I think is what she calls it. But she tells scary stories, and the freakiest ones are about I can't remember what they're called, but they're like mimics. It's a spirit that will mimic either what you look like or what you sound like or what someone else looks or sounds like. They basically create a double and they like to fuck with you. And another, I don't know why I got on the side of like mimic TikTok, but there was a video of a girl. She just looks like she was just taking a video of the horses in her barn before she like locked up for the night. And she was like, "Oh, Dad, the horses." She'd take a video for like her dad or whatever. And then she's like, "Okay, good night." And then the camera goes towards like the corner of a barn. Oh, I feel like I'm gonna barf just saying this. And it just shows it for just a second, but it stops her mid-sentence when she's like talking to the horse. It's her wearing her clothes. It's her, but she's facing the wall. Oh God, I can't even. Oh God. And then she like gets the fuck out. Like she's so freaked out in the. Oh my God.
This is your worst nightmare.
If I saw a replica of myself, if I saw myself,
you're a mimic
in a dark corner facing the wall when I'm by myself in a barn at night.
Like Blair Witch
style,
vibes.
Right?
Yeah.
Yes. Oh my God. It really disturbed me.
See, this is going to be the question to leave with the audience is what freaks you out? Would it be a mimic? What would it be? Tell us your worst nightmare. What can you not stand to think about happening?
Yeah.
Because
what
we've all
makes
had
your skin
encounters
crawl?
with things that we can't explain. That would be over the top.
I love hearing about all of it. So please tell me.
Yeah. Send us your mimic stories so I can really freak myself the fuck out.
I mean, I think that that's the only explanation for the voice that we heard. Like the only explanation.
Did it sound like him?
It did. We thought that it was him. We thought it was Lance. And there was no beat in between us responding to it and the voice. And he wasn't there.
Ugh.
And I don't know how to explain it otherwise. But I mean, it had to have been some sort of mimic.
It makes me feel ill just thinking about it. It's so spooky. Okay.
Well, hopefully that picture is not falling off the shelf again anytime soon.
Do you still have it?
It's upstairs in my closet. I don't show it to people anymore because I don't want her to come back and get mad at me.
Well, for some reason, I'm thinking that it's going to like come out tonight. Not to like freak you out, but you're like talking about it and talking about the boy and the mom. And I don't know, maybe it's kind of like resurrecting it in a way.
Well, I kind of talk about, I've told this story a number of times. I feel like it's a good thing to kind of mention it and bring it up because in some ways it keeps the little boy's memory alive. And wouldn't that make the mom happy? I don't know his name, but...
Yeah, I don't know if she's happy.
I haven't shown anyone. It's not in my curiosity cabinet anymore.
Yeah. I would bring it back out. Just bring it back out for a night and see what happens.
Maybe you can show them your holiday decorations.
I'll show him my Christmas tree. That'd make him
Everyone's
happy.
got their trees
show
up,
him
right?
your Christmas tree. Yes.
Mm-hmm. I'm too depressed to not have my tree up for as long as possible.
Same. I'm like, I need the lights. I need the joy. I have all the lights up that I possibly can.
Mm-hmm. Speaking of Christmas trees, it's going to be the last thing I say. I got home this morning from dropping June off at daycare, and Ray walks into the room very confidently with a fucking mouse in his mouth and then drops it. I'm screaming. The mouse runs under the Christmas tree and I hear plop. It fell in the fucking water. It fell in the Christmas tree water.
Oh, no.
And then I grabbed a cup and I tried to go get him out, but he must have crawled out somehow. So I have a wet mouse running around my house right now.
Oh my goodness.
I
got a lot on my plate.
awful.
I don't think I can risk having that ghost mom pissed off at me. I have a lot going on.
He just wants some cheese. Cheeses for us Mises.
Well, bad news. I've eaten all the cheese, so. All right. Thank you so much for listening to our little holiday true crime conversation special. Thank you to Kristen from Murder, She Told. Tell them where people can find you.
Well, wherever you're listening now, you can find Murder, She Told, and you can find me on every platform possible. My name is Kristen Seavey, and Murder, She Told is on all the social media platforms.
Beautiful. Aaron?
Yeah, you can find Generation Y Podcast wherever you listen to podcasts. You can also find it at GenWhyPod.com. That's our website. And of course, I have Framed, which I'm working on season 3 now, and it's just about done.
Perfect. And I'm Lucy from Wine and Crime. You can find us at wineandcrimepodcast.com or on all the socials at Wine and Crime Pod. Thank you for listening, and we hope that you are having a safe and enjoyable holiday season. Thanks for listening to Wine and Crime. Our cover art is by Danielle Sylvan. Music by Phil Young and Corey Wendell. Editing by Jonathan Camp. Our production manager is Andrea Gardner. For photos, sources, and other resources, head to wineandcrimepodcast.com. You can follow us on all the socials at Wine and Crime Pod. If you'd like to show your support and get access to all sorts of wine-fueled bonus content, check out our premium channel at wineandcrimepodcast.com/uncorked. Cheers!
Hi, I'm Chris Gethard, and I'm very excited to tell you about Beautiful Anonymous, a podcast where I talk to random people on the phone. I tweet out a phone number, thousands of people try to call, we talk to one of them, they stay anonymous, I can't hang up, that's all the rules. I never know what's going to happen. We get serious ones. I've talked with meth dealers on their way to prison. I've talked to people who survived mass shootings. Crazy funny ones. I talked to a guy with a goose laugh, somebody who dresses up as a pirate on the weekends. I never know what's going to happen. It's a great show. Subscribe today, Beautiful Anonymous.